And when we are cut off by societal rules, we are disconnected from our inner power, which is trying to keep us in balance because our minds are moving us out of where we are in balance based on outside rules.
Welcome to Real Life Women, for women, by women. Our mission is to impact and enrich lives by discussing anything that relates to our happiness, our health, and our wealth. Please take a moment to share, like, and subscribe to our channel so that we can spread the message of hope and perseverance and enrich lives together. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Dr. Kristin Kidgell, coming to you from St. Petersburg, Florida. I am here presenting with Real Life Women, which is a great channel for anything that has to do with happiness, health, and wealth. And today we have the guest that is super awesome, Kathy Baldwin, in the, quote, area of Toronto, up in Canada. We are in December of 2022. I hear that you had some ice recently. It's kind of cold up there.
Yes, yesterday we had an ice storm and my windows were all covered in ice.
And down here we are just breaking under 60 degrees today. So I know, right? This is cold for us. Do you see the sweater? I'm chilly. Well, welcome. Today, I would really love to hear about this amazing program and coaching that you've created that has to do with and I'm going to butcher it, so you're going to clean it up.
Okay.
Really, in essence, what you're doing is you're helping people that have been struggling probably for quite some time, and have hit rock bottom or are very close to rock bottom, and just teaching them the ways to gather all their poop in a pile, I like to call it, and pick themselves back up, dust themselves off, and move forward. I mean, tell me how you even put this together. Where'd this come from?
Well, it's funny because I was raised as the good girl. The society, how you had to have your knife and fork in perfect places.
Oh my.
And all the rules of, you don't stop eating until the guests are finished eating because the guests are so important. So I was raised in an environment of my job was basically to serve everyone around and be good and don't raise a fuss. Keep things quiet, keep them at home. And I've been doing a lot of work, and I realized when I was 12, that was the first time that I started to struggle with mental health. But I didn't know it at the time because everything just became normal. And I have traced it back to a very traumatic event that happened when I was 12. But I've only have this in hindsight. So from 12 years old until the age I am around now.
Okay. I hear you.
Everything that I dealt with was what life threw at me. And I just kind of did the best I could with everything that was coming at me. But I found that I wasn't doing so well because my rules of integrity were about service to others. And I was never taught how to serve myself. I was never taught how to get my own power so that I could be a strong oak. I was never taught any of that. So when I hit rock bottom and ended up in the hospital, went through doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, psychiatrists. It was a pill. Counseling. I ended up telling the counselors more than they knew because I've spent the last 35 years studying quantum physics, human behavior, biology, all of this for 35 years just because I love the topic. And I realized when I was in counseling and she was coming to me for information and resources that I could give to her because I was well more educated than she was. And I thought, okay, so in an article that I read in, was it NICM or that National Institute for Mental Health or whatever?
Right.
They said that they don't know much about mental health, but you should see a qualified professional to deal with your mental health. And I thought, well, that's an oxymoron. If I know more than the mental health people and they don't know anything, and I know myself better, I'm going to take everything that I've learned and heal thyself. And so when I was able to see how the body is actually talking to me, how my senses, the chemicals, my hormones, everything that was trying to keep me in balance. Okay, I'm going to spew a little, okay? We live in a world with universal laws, okay? We live in a world of polarity, but the universe and Mother Nature wants to create balance. And anytime something swings out of balance, it tries to bring us back to balance. And our bodies do the exact same thing. So if we're able to understand and be able to say that when we're when we're in this place, it's because our body's trying to tell us you're going the wrong way. Or look out, there's danger here, pay attention, make a decision, whatever. And that you don't have to just keep following a path when fear comes up, when stress comes up, when any of those emotions come up. We have the ability to understand and make choices that keep us in alignment.
Okay. So if I'm following you, because you've hit rock bottom and realized that you all that time were educating yourself about all this energy and flow and universal intelligence and the body and all that, then you started working on yourself. And then this is such a huge piece of the puzzle, and it is not the norm to use, right? So this type of because there's many different types of therapy per se, in medications per se. And, this stuff's been around for probably, a long time. I mean, we're talking decades. The particular type of protocol that is more common with mental health issues still happening today. But are we really improving as a society? So not to answer, right. So I think we all know the answer to that is no. You and I both coach, well, I specifically coach women. I know that you coach women and men because mental health is mental health, but my particular coaching regime is around, hormonal and digestion. But what I've noticed is the mental part, and that's how you and I kind of came together in the beginning, is because we both are certified in the emotion code, which is a way, basically, it's type of energy work that works on the subconscious, works on the body, and any trapped emotions, emotional baggage we're carrying from the past. So in essence, when we are talking about releasing trapped emotion, emotional baggage, and you were learning this, you were able to say, probably, I mean, I'm speaking for you now, but how did it come about where you're like, I want to help others? Because you noticed how you helped yourself. And because you now are certified on all these different techniques and different patterns to be able to help each other and programs to help other people. What was the line in the sand? You're like, I'm going to use this now and I'm going to help others. How did that come about?
Well, it came about in my research of trying to figure out what was going on and how we got disconnected from our bodies. And it turns out that about 300 years ago, when Sir Isaac Newton came on with all of his theories, one of his theories was that everything is divisible down to its part, and that if it's not physical, it doesn't exist. So we got cut off purposely from our intuition, from feelings. Feelings were considered just chemical reactions, and they had no bearing on life. So we were raised in a society that believed only the male dominant, and when I use male dominant, I mean like the male and female traits. So on the masculine side,
there you go, masculine.
That's what I meant. Okay. Yep. So on the masculine side, you've got power, control, intellect, all of those. And anything on the feminine side, intuition, heart, trust, any of those things were cut off from our value system. And when doctors were looking at our bodies, they were using the same theory of dividing it all up. Okay. So if you've got a heart issue, we'll deal with the heart, but we won't go to the root cause because that's another department. And nobody was ever looking, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, why would we go after root causes? But we were also raised multiple generations again in a medical model in America.
Yes.
And I would like to just pause for a second and point out something that you mentioned a few times, but a lot of people do not realize that every human has masculine tendencies and feminine tendencies. Now, granted, genetically or hormonally is what can express those a little bit more, but the fact that a guy doesn't realize that there is a feminine side to them is I don't want to say, yeah, and I don't want to say it's a shame. I just am like, guys, there is a feminine side to you. It's okay. And girls, there is a masculine side to you, but there's this give and take. And so I just wanted to clarify that for some reason I thought that was important to express, because a lot of people just don't think about it. And when we say that, when they hear that, you're like, oh yeah, well, that's true. But it's important to recognize that and to just see where you are. That's all. That's all I was trying to.
It's bigger than that, actually, Kristin.
Okay.
Because universally, there's masculine and feminine.
That's true.
Yeah, it's one of the universal laws. Our energy works. We are energetic, magnetic human beings living in a electromagnetic world. And with that, there's negative, positive, if you want to call it in the electric terms. There's positive, negative, there's up, there's down, there's light, there's dark. There's masculine, there's feminine, and it requires both to flow. And when you cut off part of it, in a man or in a woman or in nature, like if you cut off part of what Mother Nature needs and say you just have to stay like this and not be whole, it doesn't work. We're in a fluid society. We're designed to use those masculine and feminine traits to keep us in balance. And when we are cut off by societal rules, we are disconnected from our inner power, which is trying to keep us in balance, because our minds are moving us out of where we are in balance based on outside rules instead of trusting what's inside.
Okay. So how does this show up in the everyday person? How can we connect all of that data that probably just melted some minds, right? Because think about it. We've got Bruce Lipton, we've got Joe Dispenza, we've got Wayne Dyer. I mean, people have been talking about this again for decades. Now let's be real. Like, it's more people know about Reiki today than they did 5 years ago. More people know about energy work today than they did 15 years ago. So I think a lot of teachers know that this stuff exists, all this sciencey stuff, but we have to find a way to speak to the common person. So what does it look like when this is happening in a person?
Okay, well, first let me say that I have studied under Dr. Amen, under Wayne Dyer, Bruce Lipton, all of these people. They all say the same thing, but they're only talking about their little piece of it. Again, it's divisible. Nobody's brought it into the whole. So how it shows up, women with burnout, okay? They're trying to do everything, be everything, because in order to be seen as equal, we have to be seen in the masculine traits. Because society does not value the feminine traits. They don't value intuition. They don't value feelings. They don't value thoughts unless those thoughts are analytically driven, because that's part of the Newton's law, that everything has logic, everything should be predictable, and everything is designed to have a predictable outcome. But we live in a creative world where we're designed to be fluid and get to the best of ourselves and bring the best of it and have it be ebb and flow like the tides. We're
Right.
supposed to be in that energetic movement because at the core of ourselves, we are pure energy. That's proven quantum.
Correct. Yes.
Right down to the cells, we are pure energy. And out into the universe, it's pure energy. So we've been taught to think of this as physical and real because that's where we are. But when you take a microscope and you go right down into your hands and you can see the movement, or you're out into, have you ever seen one of those space things where they go the view of you on Earth and then they zoom out?
Yes.
Well, that's what we're like on the inside. We're somewhere in the middle of all of that, you know?
Right.
And we think we're the center instead of understanding we're part of a system.
Right. So it's women with burnout, but what are the other symptoms? How does this really present when we're getting this disconnect energetically? We are disconnecting, we are disconnected, and everything's haywire. What does the internal haywire symptoms look like?
Okay, can I get very medical, or
that's up to you?
I will do my best to talk about it as simple as possible.
Yeah, I would definitely make sure that we are communicating to that woman that needs to hear, this is happening inside me. I can identify with that. This is what I'm going through for sure. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we all know that we have hormones and chemicals, and we have emotions. And those emotions are created as part of our sympathetic nervous system. And our sympathetic nervous system is what I call a switch, on or off. There's no gray area. You're either in stress and flight and fight, or you're in a restful state. The majority of times, we are supposed to be in a calm, restful state. That's the way our body works. When we get into the stress state, then all of a sudden, things like your digestive system shuts down because you don't need to digest food if a tiger's chasing you, right? You do not need to think and problem solve if a tiger's chasing you, right? So these stress hormones are designed to get you fast out and then come back down. And so when the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, then we start to breathe normally and all of our functions work. Well, if we're staying in stress, because we're living in stressful environments and we're trying to do everything, be everything, those stress hormones get trapped in our body. And just like any other foreign object in our body, our cells come and surround it. And now we have inflammation. And inflammation, now they've proven that inflammation is the root of almost every disease.
Yep.
They've come to the realization that it causes Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and they've been able to root it all down. And same with our gut. I know that you are a gut expert, and that microbiome is one of our brains. Yes. So we were always taught that this was our brain and this is all that mattered. But our heart has the same amount of intelligence and thought produce, or it has its own brain, and our gut has its own brain. We are divided up so that, okay, you take care of this part and you take care of that part. So the brain is like a computer, but the heart sends information to the brain that says, okay, this is what's happening. These are the chemicals to release. This is the arm to move. This is the nerve to feel. So we have never paid attention to sensations. For an example, you know, when you get that back of your neck feeling and you know something's wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
But society tells you, oh, trust, don't worry about it. Okay. So there was a story of a policewoman who was in the middle of a nasty divorce, and something was just off when she was coming home. She's a trained cop. She saw something was off. She had all of her sensations, hairs standing up, everything. And she talked herself into walking into that house, even though everything about her body was telling her, don't do it. She overrode her body's intelligence, and she was almost beaten to death by her husband.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so that's how it's happening and how we get disconnected. We're creating disease. We are disconnecting from relationships because intimacy and opening of the heart is not part of a relationship. It's just think, it's do, not be, not feel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
That lack of vulnerability. I always see this in my life, and this is just, from similar studies. You and I have studied a lot and read a lot and listened to a lot of the same stuff. And so we can have these conversations. But if people haven't heard these conversations, one of the ways I've been able to kind of dwindle it down and have conversations with other friends that are still kind of like in the beginning of this journey is, if it doesn't feel right to you, not to everybody else, this is all about you, the person in the mirror. If it doesn't feel right, you have to pay attention to that. And if it does feel right, you got to pay attention to that too, because you're kind of taking these steps in this journey and it's your life. And so I guess I can't express that enough and to simplify it enough, and having awareness, because Kathy is really going into the big picture and the science behind it and how it all unfolds, right? But just the tiny little pieces, like we do know, ooh, I didn't like that. Ooh, I didn't like that guy. Ooh, I didn't really want to do it, but I did it, but I didn't like it. We are tend to, like you said, to just kind of like brush it off. But if we could just get people to say, ooh, so I should be paying more attention to those little feelings of like, yeah, that just doesn't feel right to me. I call them healthy boundaries. If you need to say no to somebody because it doesn't feel right to you, you don't want to go to the party, you don't want to go to the reunion. I have these conversations at work all the time where, like, just, we just had Thanksgiving. So people are like, I went, but I didn't really want to go. I'm like, why did you go? Because they went and it was torturous and nothing but family drama. And this is your life. You're spending your hours and your precious life, like, oh. So anyways.
That's because of those society rules, that
right.
How we were raised, that this is what you're supposed to do.
And tears you down.
That's exactly the reason why and how I created the Life Reset System.
Okay.
Is to teach people the logic behind, the science behind how your body works. And when hairs on the, because, okay, let me back up a little bit. Our parasympathetic nervous system, I told you, is on an on-off switch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it bounces with the sympathetic.
Yeah, and then we have our central trunk of nerves that goes down, and then we go into the secondary, and then we go into the fine ones. So information is brought in and out of the brain through all of those senses. Okay, so sometimes the brain will send a signal down to our senses, and sometimes our senses will send it up to our brain. And if we're not connected, because we don't understand that this is what our body is doing, it knows exactly. It is connected to more than we know. And we have the front part of our thinking brain is only 5% of our brain's power. The majority of it is in our unconscious, in our belief patterns, because our bodies are so efficient. We're so efficient that our body puts everything into automatic pilot, so that we can just do all of those functions: breathing, walking, brush your teeth, drive your car, cook. I mean, it just becomes all automatic because we now have a belief system, we have muscle memory, we have, these patterns all developed, and our body just goes into automatic pilot. And that is designed so that our front brain can be creative and it can think and it can develop and it can innovate.
Which is what a lot of people shut down. They have
Yes.
these dreams, they have these ideas, they have these things where they have thoughts, but those are all creations. Thought is a creation, people. And so when we tend to play it off or not write it down or, shove it away or something like that, you're stifling yourself to many other things that you're being led to that could create just a really beautiful life. So it's really
Absolutely.
great that you can, so you basically, somebody, what's the, how do people present to you where you know that they're a good fit, that they need your work,
Before
that they,
before before I do that, can I just give one more example?
absolutely.
When the Industrial Revolution came in, it was designed to be efficient. One person, one job, one station, and
Mm.
just everything run. Well, there wasn't enough people to run those Industrial Revolution machines, so we had a government-controlled public school system. And the school system went to the industries and said, what do you need us to teach? And so we were taught so that we could follow instructions. We were taught to go by the bell, do as you're told. If anybody was outside of the norm, they were considered wrong. So that's where all this ADD, ADHD, take a pill so that you'll just sit and conform. Instead, that is your brain trying to tell you there's something else you're supposed to be doing. And we've had all of these societal things coming at us from every part, trying to put us into a little box so that we can be little soldiers and follow along like we were told.
When I have the opportunity to meet some of these teenagers when they're in like middle school and high school and they're being labeled, I really, if I get the opportunity, I have a moment with them where they're like, I probably would have been labeled with that also, but because and so basically what I do is I just try to get them to think that because they're being told that it's a curse. They're being told because they're getting this label of ADHD and all this stuff that this is a problem with them. And I kind of see it sometimes as a solution to needs and things that we're going to need somebody that thinks like that as a community and as a world. And so I try to get them to look at themselves differently. And so I can only hope that anybody that needs to hear this, if they have a child that is falling into the category that these school systems are and they're being put into this, that when we try to stifle that person's personality, it leads to like other health issues I'm seeing, which ends up being GI issues like crazy and a massive anxiety, and they can't deal. So they're trying to hold themselves down into the parameter of society, and it's making them sick to do so because
Yes,
they can't be themselves.
that's right.
Yeah,
We are told that this is what we're supposed to be.
right.
That's the rules. And instead of allowing, like, I believe that Tesla, what's his name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, he has ADHD because he's a genius.
Yeah,
And
he's creative like crazy.
so was Edison, so was
Yep,
Ford. Does
yep.
that mean that they are easy to get along with and follow instructions? No,
But we
but
need them.
yes, we need everybody to be their individual piece of the part of the pie. We
Yep.
need everyone to be fully integrated within themselves. So they're walking around as whole human beings and able to give the best of themselves to the world instead of being told, do this, do this, do this. You know, for me, when I was put into this box of what I was supposed to be, I didn't know that I was allowed to say no. I didn't know that I had boundaries. I didn't know so many things that I should have known. And I ended up in very dangerous situations because my box was be a good girl, do as you're told. And so I could be easily manipulated. And as I was easily manipulated, I'm now being torn apart by myself, and I'm betraying myself because I know what's right, but I'm not listening to myself. I'm listening to these outside rules, and it's creating disease in me to the point where I got so sick. I had fibromyalgia. You could not touch my skin. It was on fire. I did not know a pain-free day. I thought that was normal because I was doing as I was told. But my body was screaming at me. My body was absolutely screaming at me,
Right.
stop.
Yeah.
And so when you ask me why I did this, when I found how I need to listen to myself, and then I have the greatest gift to give people, then I realized everybody needs to know this.
Right.
I can't, it would be irresponsible of me to not share it and not have other people who struggled like me, who are falling down those paths. If we can catch people earlier and let them just be who they really are, so that they can give the best of themselves, whatever part it's supposed to be, instead of us being average, moldable, valuable, do as you're told, follow along, and somebody else has the power and control. I
Right.
mean, it came from like royalty and the church.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah.
anyone who's religious, church was government, church ruled. So I'm not talking about religion or spirituality. I'm
Right.
talking about the
The church
institution.
itself. Yep. The
Yeah,
institution of it. Yep. Got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they made the rules. They decided who learned how to read. They decided who got what. And then you got royalty who decided whether you're knighted or whatever, whether you're able to own property, whether you're able to do this, what kind of jobs you're supposed to do. So we've been stifled forever. And I do believe that all of our systems are breaking apart, our financial system, our government systems, everything is kind
Our
of falling.
school system needs a revamp.
Our medical system,
Yep.
everything, and we need to do it. And we can't do it until we're whole. So,
So let's back up.
sorry, I get passionate.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. It's so awesome when everybody gets passionate about, what we're talking about. You're here on the planet to do this right now. And that
I do.
everything that you've gone through, you've turned
Yep,
your pain into your passion. There's
absolutely.
really no greater gift than that, honestly. So there's so many levels of that I can not just agree with, but like can totally coherently, feel like I've lived similar situations. So I'm back to a question we got off of. We started going down, but it's really, really important. I want the listener to either think, oh, that's me, or oh, that's my neighbor, or oh, that's my sister, or what does this look like? Who is looking for you right now? And they don't even know that they're looking for you.
That's right. That's the problem, is they don't know because they're following along.
Okay.
People who are dissatisfied, people who are not going through life in flow and happy, because that's our natural state. So people who have addictions or have gotten over addictions, because addictions are a way of us trying to soothe all the pain that's going on inside of us, right? To cover it up so we don't
Mm-hmm.
feel it.
Agree.
Somebody who knows that they have more, knows that like I've known my whole life that there's something I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to tell you a little personal story. My mother was the most amazing woman I've ever met in my whole entire life. And she died early from addiction.
Mm.
And one of the last things she said to me was, Kathy, you don't understand. I could have been somebody.
Wow.
She died with those regrets of not living her authentic self, of not giving everything she had because she was following the rules, you know?
Right.
And we all know that there's something we're supposed to do. Women who are empty nesters, who've given everything to everybody else, and now they don't know what the purpose is because they've never delved into themselves. So
Well, we
that's
have,
what I,
well, let's be clear. We have empty nesters that are like, woohoo, it's time to go, babe, get the RV. We're out of here. And then there's 100% the other realm of empty nesters that are like slip into depression. And I've seen this in people that retire
yes. What am I
because they're
supposed to
like,
do next?
well, what's my meaning now? I've been a guidance counselor at a high school for a bazillion years, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
their
people,
identity is tied.
what was that?
Their identity is tied to their job.
Mm,
Instead of their identity being who they are and fully centered in knowing who they are. And so many of those people, they die so fast after retirement because they don't know where they fit anymore because they don't know who they are.
right. So this is likely a really good program for somebody that's like kind of like their wheels are spinning, or maybe they feel like they're stuck on a hamster wheel, or that
Or
they,
hitting a glass ceiling.
yes, or maybe see themselves worse off every year instead of improving every year. And now they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so close to just whatever thought pattern. So it's probably pretty bad at this point, but we don't want anybody to really get to that point, right? I mean,
No,
it's such a spectrum. And if you've lived longer than just, I don't know, 15, 20 years, you've probably have experienced something along these
absolutely.
realms.
Yeah, we were taught that traumas and bad things were things we just had to deal with. Instead of using those things as the purpose they're supposed to be, which is to develop us to the next level. So if we hit a stress or we hit a barrier and it breaks us, instead of makes us stronger to go over that barrier, which is what we're supposed to do. You know, like there's a story of the eagle. And when the eagle gets too old, not the eagle, there's another bird. When it gets old enough, it no longer can live unless it breaks its beak off. And so it has to smash its face over and over again into a rock to break this off so it can live.
Wow, I've never heard about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's part of nature. Snakes, they have to shed their skin in order to grow. Butterflies, they come from a cocoon where they die basically. They turn into mush and then they develop into something else. We're out of that system of evolution and growth and expansion. And when we feel pain, we think, oh, something's wrong, instead of,
Hmm.
oh, I'm here on the next step. And
Right.
yes, it's going to hurt. Like childbirth, it hurts.
Yes.
We all know it hurts. But are we going to not do it and not evolve to the next stage? Well, people want to be parents. So they go through the pain. But we're not taught that that pain is designed to take us to the next step, the next evolution, and the next birthing of ourselves.
I
It's
have
just,
written, well, I have, uh-oh, did I take it off? I think I wrote it down in a sticky note. Oh, there it is. It says FAIL, the acronym for FAIL. I just heard this one recently. It says first attempt and learning.
yeah. And we're taught failure means there's something wrong with you.
Right,
Instead, yeah,
right.
because the school system was X or check.
Yep,
X or check. And when you're in a binary world where there's only right or wrong, cross or check,
right,
and instead of our world is fluid, it's full of gray. There's no black and white ever, ever.
right.
Nothing is all one thing. Everything is accumulation of so much. And when we're shutting off the beauty of that integration and that fluidity, we're,
Right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. So I guess the next question is, as we wrap up, would be if somebody finds themselves in these particular types of struggles that we've just defined, and they know that they have something greater to expand to, there's more for their lives that they want to reach. If they go When they go through your program, what can they expect on the other end of your program? What are all the benefits?
Self-knowledge. So once you have self-knowledge, basically, once you know how to drive a car, you can drive a car. So once you come into self, because I teach, first of all, the logic, because that's where we are, of how and why we are where we are. And then I go into teaching and having people figure out what's really inside of them. Who are they really? What does this feel like? If this is what I do, for example, one of the exercises I do is, when am I at my best? Okay. So when I'm at my best, I'm happy and I'm passionate and I'm creative. And when am I at the worst? Well, it's the opposite. So when you feel those opposite feelings, you know you're in the wrong spot. You know you're supposed to move over to happy.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, we use these things on the other side of the spectrum to say, you're being punished, you're wrong. And it beats people down. Do you know that the word shame is a man-made emotion?
No.
Yeah.
Because they're putting it on somebody, or somebody's putting it on you?
Yep. It's externally put on. It's not an internal emotion. It is, you're not
So
reaching
many learned
expectations.
behaviors and learned emotions, and our
Yeah.
ability to deal with triggers or the things in life. I
Well,
can understand that.
so let me give you a personal example. When you say, what can you get out of it? I have a bunch of triggers. Okay. One of them I know is feeling rejected. It's one of my major triggers. Well, now that I've gone down and done my root cause and I know where and how my body is feeling that, when it comes up, I go, oh, there it is again. Now I get to choose. Do I want to react the way I've always reacted, or do I want to react in a different way? It's no longer in automatic pilot, because we're cutting off the automatic pilot and we're learning to rewire our own brains, because our brains are, it's been proven through neuroplasticity and so many other things that we can rewire our own brains, but we're not taught how to do that.
Right. So after they gain this self-knowledge, that's the verbiage you used, correct?
Self-knowledge for self-empowerment.
Self-knowledge for self-empowerment. So what will they see changing in their lives, the day-to-day lives?
Stress will be reduced. Inflammation will be reduced. They can learn how to heal themselves, the emotion code, the body code, which I'm certified in both. Those are healings that you can do, Reiki, whatever. You can remove all of that toxicity, heal it, and then start living in passion and purpose and peace. We're supposed to live in peace. Because we have a passion and we have a purpose, instead of all of these outside things that are designed to beat us down. So when we start feeling happy and we start waking up in the morning energized because we know there's something we're supposed to do, and we feel it called from inside out instead of forced down. You have a job, you're supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, you know, the bell's going to ring, you're going to be late, you're going to be marked on the punch card that you showed up late. That's all external stresses. And those make us sick.
It's true. It's a fact.
It is absolutely a fact. And we're not being told that. And we're being told that other people have the knowledge, the doctors, the lawyers, the government, school systems, parents, ancestors. Do you know, and this is part of the emotion and body code, that our DNA is affected by our emotions and our hormones and that, and we pass that DNA down. So as we are getting ourselves sick, we're reducing the next generation. We are just holding it in ourselves. So when we can heal it and our DNA changes because those stress hormones are no longer there and our DNA can now rise us up, we are making our children and our grandchildren and then those next generations better.
Absolutely. So I tell patients and clients that they're like, well, inherited. You mean like genetically? I'm like, exactly, because we get their same hair, we get their same jawline, we get their same eyebrows, we get their same hands. I mean, my hands look like my parents' hands, it's just, it's, if we can pass that stuff down, we are passing down those heavier emotional traits for sure.
Everything.
Body chemistries, everything.
Yeah. For example, when you're in the womb, those hormones and stress hormones that are external, that are affecting the external environment, now come into your DNA, and you can be born with the stress of a previous generation.
It's true.
But we can heal it. We can release it. We can.
Yes. It's a thing.
It's a thing. And we're not told. We're not told. Nobody told us.
Well, we are telling the masses. It is moving through.
Yeah.
Okay. It has been an honor and a privilege to understand what you are here to share with the world and really just break people free where they feel trapped in their own selves.
Yeah. From something that has nothing to do with them.
Well, it's theirs. They have to identify it, but then they have to own the fact that they don't want it anymore. So not that they necessarily put it there because, if they were exposed to different things, I agree, but you're able to be released from it, people.
Yes.
That's what people need to understand is you do not have to continually live your lives stuck, depressed, anxious, all the things. We are meant to be well.
Yeah, I have one client who was severely abused as a child, and she feels that her life is doomed because that happened to her in the past. And so when she knows that, okay, that's in the past, and now I can make decisions and I can rewire that brain and I can cut that trauma off. I can't heal it. I can't change it. I can't ever do anything about it because it happened in the past. But what I can do today is take away the toxicity that affects me today so that I can be different today and tomorrow. I don't have to continue to be what was imposed on me.
Right. And they don't even realize that they were imposed half the time until they were like, oh, I was imposed. Sometimes it's like that aha moment.
Absolutely.
I've seen it a lot over and over. And I know you have too. So what I'm going to make sure I do is in the description of the video, we'll have all the ways they can find you.
Perfect.
But before they go looking into that, is there anything top of mind how they can reach you like today? If someone says, I wanted to email you today, what would best email be, or your website or anything? How could they find you today?
Okay, today it would be Kathy with a K at liferesetsystem.coach.
Love it. So good.
Yeah. And liferesetsystem.coach. They can go and see a webinar that I talk about how the processes work, because it has to be systematic. You have to start from the outside and work your way in. And that's what I do, is take everybody from, the outside easy stuff into the core, and then teach them how they can self-regulate later on.
Yep. Clean up the mess and then give the tools to be able to process the rest of their lives through much better filters.
Yes. And the past becomes a movie instead of a chain.
And you don't have to watch that movie anymore. You already saw it.
Yeah. Let it go.
Okay. You are a joy. Thank you so much.
I have enjoyed so much, and I was so worried that I wouldn't know what to say, but when you get on a passionate topic, you just roll.
I know, right? That's why I tell everybody they get so nervous. They want to do the interview and then they get nervous and I'm like, don't be nervous, I promise. It's not that bad.
No, you're amazing.
Oh, you're so
And
sweet.
And the work you're doing is exactly part of the whole. You're starting from inside, so work your way out. And I'm starting from the outside, working my way in. So hopefully together and all of us doing this, we can actually make a difference in this world.
Let's make a difference. So honored to have you part of the playlist on Real Life Women. Yay!
Thank you.
Okay, until next time.